From ancient time, India had a traditional for respecting, protecting and preserving forest. So traditional से ही हम लोग का इंडिया में ये ट्रेडिशन रहा है ये ट्री को रिस्पेक्ट करने के लिए, प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए और प्रिजर्व करने के लिए. प्रिजर्व मीन्स टू प्रोटेक्ट द ट्री और टू सेव द ट्री. You have already learned about the scarecrows in the chapter diversity in living worlds. तो हम लोग scarecrows के बारे में ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. What do you mean by scarecrows? Scarecrows means trees that are protected by the local people. Many efforts have been made by a common people to prevent the cutting trees and thus saving forest. One such effort is the famous Chipko movement. The Chipko movement is famous for what? Protecting the tree from cutting out or cutting down. It started in early 1970 in Uttarakhand. So the Chipko movement is started in 1970 in Uttarakhand. Previously is a part of Uttar Pradesh. So this Uttarakhand is earlier is a part of Uttar Pradesh. Local women actively participate in this movement. They encircle and hug the trees to protect them from being felled. So क्या करती थी वहाँ जो local movement थी has taken a lot of part has taken a part in what in this movement. So during their walk in the forest, Bhumi and Surya noticed that there are a lot of leaves on the ground. So Bhumi और सूर्य फॉरेस्ट में वॉक करने के समय नोटिस किए कि देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ लीव्स ऑन द ग्राउंड. द सॉइल फेस डम. और ऐसा सॉइल लग रहा था कि वहाँ पे सॉइल पे कोई डम किया है लीव्स को. इतना वहाँ पे क्या था लीव्स था. अज्जी एक्सप्लेन द रूट्स ऑफ अ प्लांट्स होल्ड ऑन द सॉइल एंड प्रिवेंट इट फ्रॉम बीइंग वॉश्ड अवे. जो अज्जी थी his what their grandmother had explained that the root hold the soil टू बीइंग वॉश्ड अवे. उससे क्या कहे रेनी सीजन में वॉश्ड अवे कट के बह जाने से रूट क्या करता है सॉइल को होल्ड करके रखता है. द लीव्स डेट फॉल फ्रॉम द ट्रीज डीके एंड इनरीच द सॉइल विथ न्यूट्रिएंट्स. और जो लीव्स होता है जो फॉल हो जाता है ट्री से गिर जाता है टूट के वो क्या होता है डिके हो जाता है एंड टर्न इनटू इनरिच द सॉइल विथ न्यूट्रिएंट्स. सॉइल को क्या करता है क्वालिटी को इम्प्रूव करता है और जो ट्रीज को न्यूट्रिएंट्स चाहिए वो प्रोवाइड करवाता है. सो बेसिकली द लीव्स ऑन दैट टाइम वर्क्स एज अ कंपोस्ट. This soil is used by new plants and trees to grow. This is an example of a recycle in nature. Let us investigate the soil in more details. Soil, rocks and minerals. Bhumi and Surya and Ajay come back home from the forest. Bhumi and Surya help Ajay in preparing the soil in the garden for planting some vegetables. In 11.5 you can see that Bhumi and Surya comes back to home and help her grandmother to planting the vegetables. अज्जी आस्क देम टू टेक द सॉइल जेंटली. जो ग्रैंड मदर थी वो उन लोगों को बोली कि जेंटली क्या करने के लिए हल्के हल्के से सॉइल को डिग करने के लिए खोदने के लिए कोड़ने के लिए. एंड लूजन द लम्स. और लम्स को क्या करने के लिए तोड़ने के लिए. लूजन लम्प मीन्स हेयर द सॉइल स्टिक टुगेदर दैट इज कॉल्ड लम्प. यू हैव ऑलरेडी लर्न इन द चैप्टर लिविंग क्रिएचर एक्सप्लोरिंग देयर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक that for plants to grow the space between the soil particles or particles not only provide sufficient air but also space for the root to grow easily. So you have already discussed that there is also small particles are present in the soil that helps the soil to keep the air so that the mineral airs can be used by the tree. So this is also important to not water a lot to the tree. So only provide the sufficient air but also space for the roots to grow easily. So they also provide the space to grow the root. Bhumi and Surya could see a small pebbles, the roots of a plant and new earthworms too in the soil. So they saw a pebbles and the small particles of or small rocks and the earthworm also. Do you realize that the earthworm are the natural agents that help in turning and loosening the soil? So earthworm is what? Is a natural agents that naturally turning and loosening the soil. While Bhumi and Surya help Ajji, let us do our own experiment by performing activity 11.4. So here is activity given here, you have to perform on your own. So in activity 11.4, let us investigate. Collect sample of soil from different areas around the home and school. So you have to collect a different type of soil from the different place. Guess what could be there in the different soils. So you have to check also the different characteristic that is in the soil. Observe carefully each soil sample and not its color. So you have to also note it down the color of each and every soil that you get from different places. Touch each soil sample and feels its texture. So you have to also check its texture. So caution is given here, the warning, remember to wash your hand thoroughly. So you have to also pay attention that you have to, after doing that, you have to wash your hand thoroughly after touching the soil collected from the different places. Sometimes soil that has garbage carries germs and may be harmful to us. So it is also what may it is you can also see the soils carries germs, they may harm you. So this is also important to wash your hand. So you have to wash your hand after touching the soil. This is also very important. So what do you mean by thoroughly? Thoroughly means a carefully, or you have to wash your hand completely. That is meaning of thoroughly. Observe the soil and sample with your naked eyes. You have to check the soil. If you have magnifying lens, look at the soil through it. So if you have a magnifying lens, तो you can use it. If you don't have, तो you have to use your naked eyes. Means अगर खाली आंख से देखना है, अगर कोई आपके पास मैग्नीफाइंग लेंस नहीं है, तो सिर्फ आइस का यूज़ करना है उसको ऑब्जर्व करने के लिए. रिकॉर्ड योर ऑब्जर्वेशन इन 11.2 टेबल. So here is given a table. You have to write down your observation. So location from which soil sample was collected. So you have to write down the different places from where you collect the soil. First is written in soil from farm after plowing. So after what digging the soil, he took from the farm. So you can write down here after digging the ground of the or surrounding of my house. So you can also write down a soil of my school garden. So you can write down here what I guessed about the soil. So you have to write down how the soil looks like. So you have to guess also. Observe the soil with the naked eyes, including its colors and texture. So you have to also write some of the colors looks like a brown, some of the colors looks like a red, and some maybe colors looks like a soils looks like a yellowish. So you have to also write down here. Observe the soil with the magnifying lens. So you have to observe the mm, soil with magnifying glass. If you have some, you can write down here the particles are big, and here you can write down the particles are very small in size. Here you can write down the soils is looks like a powdery structures. So you can write down the different observation that you observe. Is there any difference between your guess and what you can actually observe? You look closely. When you look closely or when you guess, is there any difference? You have to also write down. Or do you see any difference in the soil samples taken from a different places? So yes, this is you have all can see the difference if you took the soils from the different places. Some may have a small pebble, some may not. Do you see difference in what you are able to observe with your naked eyes? So if you will to differentiate to see with your naked eyes and what you can observe with a magnifying glass or lens, there are many things in the soil such as sand, insects and worms. There may be many small organisms that we cannot see with our naked eyes. So बहुत से small organism होते हैं जिसे हम लोग अपने naked eyes से नहीं देख सकते हैं. Plants and animals also become a part of the soil as they decompose and decay. So plants or animals जो होते हैं that they dead, they also becomes and they decompose and decay. The soil samples collect from a different places may be different color because they may contain a different minerals. So the color of the soils depend on what minerals. So if the colors is changed, it means they in soil the percentage of a different minerals are indifferent from the another soil. सो क्या होता है मिनरल्स का परसेंटेज जो होगा वो क्या होगा डिफरेंट होगा अनदर सॉइल से. हैव यू एवर वंडर हाउ सॉइल इज फॉर्म्ड? तो आपको पता किए हैं या सोचे हैं कि सॉइल कैसे बनता है? सॉइल इज फॉर्म बाय द डिस इंटीग्रेशन मीन्स ब्रेकिंग अपार्ट टूट जाने से ऑफ अ रॉक. रॉक को टूट जाने से क्या होता है सॉइल बनता है. बाय एक्शन ऑफ द सन, सन के एक्शन से. क्या सन क्या होता है? सन हीट ऑफ द रॉक्स एंड दे ब्रेक डाउन एंड देन टर्न इनटू द स्लोली दे टर्न इनटू द सॉइल. वाटर एंड लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म ओवर अ लॉन्ग टाइम thousand of years they are different types of soil. So some are good for growing certain types of plants while some are the good for making bricks and building. All the soil is not fertile and not fit for growing crops. So there are the some certain types of soil that are good for plantation or growing crops, or there are the some soil that is useful and fit for making bricks. Forests have a variety of soil. Soil is precious treasures and support biodiversity. सॉइल क्या करता है बायोडाइवर्सिटी को सपोर्ट करता है. इट मीन द डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म लिव्स टुगेदर एंड एग्जिस्ट टुगेदर दैट इज कॉल्ड बायोडाइवर्सिटी. यू मे हैव सीन रॉक्स इन योर सराउंडिंग. हम अपने बहुत ही डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ रॉक्स क्या अपने सराउंडिंग आसपास जरूर देखा होगा. रॉक्स आर यूज इन अ कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ हाउसेस बिल्डिंग एंड टेम्पल्स रोड्स डैम्स एंड टेबल टॉप्स. सम रॉक्स लाइक slates are used for roofing and laterite can be used as a building materials like a bricks. So laterite तो soil होता है वो building materials बनाने के लिए और bricks बनाने के लिए हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं. Some of the important rocks are granite, sandstone, and marble. So these are the all are stones. Example of granite, sandstone, and marbles. Human beings have been using rocks to make tools such as hand axes. So you have also discussed, you have also seen that the earlier people using rocks to make their tools and arrowheads since thousands of years. In thousands of years, the people use their tools and to use rocks. So rocks used for roofing. So here is rock is used for making roof. Laterite rocks is used as bricks. So here you have also seen the red colorless what bricks. So that is made up of a laterite rocks. Hand axe. This is a hand axe that is made up of by rocks. Arrowheads made from stone. So arrowhead is made up of stone. What are rocks made up of? So rock किससे बनता है? They are made up of minerals. So mineral से बना हुआ होता है. Important metals such as the aluminium, gold, copper, and iron extract from the minerals. So minerals से क्या होता है? ये extract करते हैं हम लोग, take out करते हैं. Minerals are used in a manufacturing of aeroplanes, cars, jewelry, cosmetic, and electrical and electronic equipment. For example, the basic mobile phones that we use contain about a dozen of minerals like gold, silver, copper, cobalt, and etc. So in mobile there are the different kind of equipment are used. Dozen of means there are the more than 12 types of minerals are used in the making the phones like silver, copper, cobalt, iron. So naturally occurring gold. So this is a natural occurring gold that we get from the nature. Some minerals found in the nature. They are the different type of minerals that are found in the nature. Rocks play a vital role in our lives. Rocks play a very important role in our life, as we know that it takes thousands to millions of years to form rocks. Therefore, it is important to conserve and use them responsibly. So that is our responsibility to conserve means to keep or to protect them, protect it. Do you know how rocks and minerals are transported from one location to another? So have you any idea any if any specific kind of rocks found in a specific location, how can we transport it to the another? Have you ever wonder or think? Most vehicles that we use transportation use fossil fuels. So there are all the vehicles that we use in transportation use fossil fuels. So क्या करते हैं वो लोग यूज करते हैं fossil fuels को. Let's explore more about the fossil fuels. Now let's study about and discuss about what is fossil fuels. So have you ever listened about the fossil fuels? So what do you mean by fossil fuels? So fossil fuels are the non-renewable energy source. So fossil fuels होता है non-renewable source है हम लोग का, like coal, oil, petroleum, and natural gases. So these are the example of a fossil fuels. So fuel station. Have you ever seen fuel station? So Surya, why do different types of vehicles go in a different filling station? So Bhumi is asking to Surya that why different kind of vehicles goes to different type of station to fill. The reason is that they use a different type of fuels, for example, petroleum and diesels. So Surya replies that the different types of vehicle use the different types of fuels, example, petrol and diesel. So let us explore more about by performing activity 11.5. So we have to perform the 11.5 activity that is given here, that is mentioned here. Activity 11.5. Let conduct a survey. So you have to conduct a survey. Conduct a survey of a vehicle in your neighborhood. So you have to conduct a survey in your neighborhood. Which type of vehicles are there? What type of fuels do they use? Record the information that you collect in 11.3. So types of vehicle you have to write down. Types of fuel they use you have to write down here. What are the most common types of fuel used? So you have to write down the name of a vehicle that the majority. You have to write down the name of a fuel that the majority of vehicles are using. Petrol and diesel are the two most widely used fuel for vehicles. So you have must be observed that the most of the vehicles use petrol, whether or diesel. Either diesel, petrol, diesel, and kerosene are obtained from a petroleum. So petrol and diesel, kerosene are obtained from a petroleum. So what do you mean by petroleum? Petroleum also with natural gases, coal, and commonly called fossil fuels. So petroleum along with the natural gases and coal are commonly called fossil fuel. So what do you mean by fossil fuel? So petroleum along with the natural gas and coal are commonly called fossil fuels. They are found essentially from the remains of microorganisms and plants to got buried deep inside the earth. वो microorganism से fossil fuels बनता है. और क्या होता है, प्लांट जो क्या बरीड हो गए हैं, अंदर दब गए हैं इनसाइड द अर्थ, से उससे क्या होता है, फॉर्म होता है fossil fuels and were converted to petroleum, natural gas and coal. It takes a million of years for these fuels to form. So ये क्या होता है, millions of years लग जाता है फॉर्म होने में. नेचुरल गैसेज यूज फॉर कुकिंग, जनरेटिंग इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. नेचुरल गैसेज क्या होता है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी उसको इस फॉर्म करने में और कुकिंग करने में हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं. नाउ डेज इट इज़ ऑल्सो यूज टू फॉर्म कंप्रेस्ड नेचुरल गैस, हम लोग आज के समय में क्या कहते हैं, कंप्रेस्ड नेचुरल गैस भी फॉर्म करते हैं. For example, CNG. CNG is a full form of CNG is compressed natural gas as a fuel for vehicles. It is cleaner fuels than a petrol and diesel, so it is less polluted than the petrol and diesel. Coal is mainly used for production of electricity. It is found in the several part of India. Find out the major coal production state. Mark them in a map of India. So you have to write down the major coal production state and mark down in a map. Earlier, coal, wood, and dung cake were used as a fuel for cooking. सो अर्लियर पहले क्या होता था, कोल यूज़ किया जाता था कुकिंग के लिए, वुड्स यूज़ किया जाता था, और डंग केक यूज़ किया जाता था फॉर एज अ फ्यूल्स फॉर कुकिंग. नाउ डेज लेस पोल्यूटिंग नेचुरल गैसेज एंड लिक्विफाइड पेट्रोलियम गैसेज लाइक एलपीजी हैव ग्रेजुअली रिप्लेस दोज डोमेस्टिक फ्यूल्स. जो एलपीजी हो गया वो क्या किया है, उस तरह का फ्यूल्स जो हम लोग यूज़ करते थे, काउ डंग और कोल, ये सब वुड्स को, इसको क्या किया, रिप्लेस कर दिया. So coal, petroleum, natural gases. Fossil fuels are found in limited quantities. So fossil fuels is not, you don't have a lot of fossil fuels. So that is present in a limited quantity. Hence we will soon run out of fossil fuels. So after a period, the fossil fuel is going to finish if we continue to use them in the manner that we currently do. So as we are using currently, if we keep doing, one day the fossil fuel is going to end. To avoid such situation, we need to explore alternate source of energy. So to avoid this situation, we have to think about the alternative source of the energy. When fossil fuels are burned, smokes and carbon dioxide gas are produced, which pollute air. Overdependence on fossil fuels for transportation and domestic fuels has resulted a large scale in air pollution. So this is also a major cause of air pollution. Let us do a bit conserve fossil fuels. Walking or cycle to nearby places, using public transport, suggest some more ways. So you have to do the some activities that we can not use what fossil fuels. There are the some activities you can perform. So avoid fossil fuels. Natural resources and renewable and non-renewable. So we are going to study about the natural resources and renewable and non-renewable. Natural treasures fulfill our needs. So natural treasures जो होता है, for example soil, plants, river, air that we get from the nature. They are essential resources to sustain all lives form on the earth. So this is very important to sustain all form of life on earth, to use natural treasures. For example, we get heat or light from the sun. So we get heat and light from the sun, water from the river, and food from the plants and animals. These are the resources which we get from a nature are called a natural resources. So that we get from the nature is called a natural resources. We also use natural resources to make many useful things. For example, our convenience, for example, electricity, bulb for futures, solar panel, bicycle, etc. make our lives comfortable. All such resources created by human beings and called a human made resources, so that we use to make our life more convenient, that is called a human made resources. You have learned about the various natural resources such as air, water, energy from the sun, forest, soil, rocks, minerals, fossil fuels. Some of these natural resources get replenished through natural process over a period of time. So what do you mean by replenished? Replenish means to replace what has been used up and make something use again. That is meaning of replenished. If you remember, Ajay told Bhumi Surya that they could collect only those नेलिकाय डेट हैड फॉलन ऑन द ग्राउंड. सो हम लोग याद ही जो अज्जी बोली थी भूमि एंड सूर्या को कि वही नीलिकाय को मीन्स ग्रोसबेरी को कलेक्ट करना है जो क्या हो गिर गया हो टूट के. दिस मेक्स श्योर दैट देयर वुड बी इनफ फूड फॉर अदर एनिमल एंड बर्ड्स. This or the seeds from the dropping of animals and birds would enable new trees to grow. Though it would take some year before we get fruits from these new plants, thus resources which get renewed, replenished, or restored with a reasonable period of time are called the renewable resources. Air, water, and forest are some of the example of renewable natural resources. Natural renew nature renew them. We should use our natural resources judiciously. तो हम लोग को बहुत वाइजली क्या करना चाहिए, अपना नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज को यूज करना चाहिए. On the other hand, fossil fuels like take a million of years to form. दे आर फॉर्म इन लिमिटेड क्वांटिटीज, वंस यूज्ड दे गेट एग्जॉस्टेड। एक बार हम लोग यूज़ करते हो क्या होता है, वो फिनिश्ड हो जाता है और उसको बनने में, फॉर्म होने में मिलियंस ऑफ टाइम लग जाता है, ईयर्स लग जाता है। सो दे आर नॉट प्रोड्यूस्ड और रिप्लेनिश्ड विद इन अ रीजनेबल पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। सो बहुत शॉर्ट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम और आफ्टर ईयर वो फॉर्म नहीं होता है, इट टेक्स मिलियंस ऑफ ईयर। दिस रिसोर्सेज आर कॉल्ड नॉन रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेज। इसको क्या कहते हैं, नॉन रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेज कहते हैं। एग्जाम्पल ऑफ नॉन रिन्यूएबल नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज आर मिनरल, सॉइल, rocks, petroleum, and natural gases. Resources we use. As it time for Bhumi and Surya to get back home after a wonderful holiday at Aji's home. Their Amma, means mother, come to pick them up. Bhumi and Surya show her that the vegetable plants and have started to grow in the garden, and the dried chili gives by Ajay to take home. They notice change in the color of skyline and the smell of the air once they reach the city. So they feel very different when they reach to their city after village. There are very few trees. The air does not smell as good as air at Ajit's place. They can smell smoke from a vehicles. The air is polluted. Amma says, yes, when we use fossil fuels in our vehicles, smoke is generated. Now there are the vehicles which cause less pollution. For example, there are electricity vehicles that do not release any smoke. So people are making an effort to create alternatives. Can you list some alternatives for reducing air pollution? So you have to make a list to reduce the air pollution. We use many natural resources in our everyday life. Let us identify some resources that we use by performing activity. Activity 11.6. Let us make a list of the natural resources used. Make a list of activities you do in your daily life and write down natural resources used directly or indirectly for each activity. In table 11.4, some items are already filled in. Using them as guide, fill the remaining blanks row. So you have to write down, fill the row. Natural resources used, activity and natural resources. So washing clothes, we use water. Making clay toys, we use water. We use soil. Collecting firewoods, we use what for trees. So here you have to write down the natural resources from where we get. So how many natural resources did you list? Compare your list with that your friends. So you have to compare with your friends. You and your friends have listed many natural resources that we use every day. These are the resources are air, water, and soil, and food from plants and animals. We get these resources from nature and also make things using them for our occupation. So therefore we must conserve our natural resources that we use them responsibly without wasting them. This way we can continue to fulfill our present needs and while also saving for future without harming the environment. So, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not for every man's greed. So, that is written by M. K. Gandhi. इस कोट कि हम लोग को अर्थ है उतना हम लोगों को प्रोवाइड करवा देता है जिससे हम लोग सेटिस्फाई संतुष्ट हो जाए, मगर कोई लालची है उसको संतुष्ट करने के लिए उतना हम लोग का अर्थ प्रोवाइड नहीं करवा पाएगा. So here given there are some important words you have to memorize: air, petroleum, classify, coal, rainwater harvesting, experience, forest, renewable resources, explore, fossil fuel, resources, investigate, human-made resources, rocks, observe, natural gases, soil, and survey. Natural resources, sun, non-renewable resources, and water. So these are the important words. So here given the summary of this whole chapter. Let's recall resources required for our survival are provided by nature. So resources are provided by the nature. Resources provided the nature are called the natural resources that we get from the nature is called the natural resources. Some important natural resources are air, water, energy from sun, forest, soil, rocks, minerals, and fossil fuels. Resources created by human being to meet their need are called the human-made resources that we use or made for our convenience, that is called the human-made resources. Natural resources can be classified as renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So natural resources are we can differentiate between non-renewable or renewable. For example, a tree is a renewable, and for petroleum is non-renewable. Resources that get renewed and replenished or restored by natural process within a reasonable period of time are called renewable and resources. Resources that are limited quantities and do not get replenished with the reasonable period are called non-renewable resources. All living beings, including a human, depends on a natural resources for their survival. So we should use them judiciously. So जितना भी natural resources है हम लोग को बहुत ही wisely उसको use करना चाहिए. The meaning of judiciously is wisely, carefully. So let us enhance our learning. So here are the given the activity in your book. So you have to perform on your own. You have to write down your true or false. Nature has all resources to meet human needs. So nature के पास और resources जिसे human needs को पूरा किया जा सकता है. So yes, true. Machines are the resource found in nature. आर रिसोर्स, सो मशीन क्या है, रिसोर्स हम फाउंड नेचर में फाउंड करते हैं, सो नो मशीन्स आर नॉट फाउंड इन नेचर, सो फॉल्स। नेचर गैस इज नॉन रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेज, सो नेचुरल गैस जो है वो नॉन रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेज है, यस नेचुरल गैस इज अ नॉन रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेज। एयर इज रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेज, यस एयर इज अ रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेज। So here is given the question answer and take the correct option is here. So fuel that commonly used in two wheelers like scooter or bike is so kerosene, petrol, diesel, LPG. So usually petrol use होता है two wheelers bike में. An example of renewable resources is, so example of renewable resources is what? Water is a renewable resources. Classify the following as renewable or non-renewable resources. You have to classify which one is a renewable or which one is a not renewable. Coal, natural gases, forest, minerals. You have to classify. So coal is a non-renewable, natural gas non-renewable, forest is a renewable, and minerals is non-renewable. Why do we say petroleum is not renewable resources? So petroleum is, why not? Because it takes a million of time to replenish. That's why it is difficult to regrow forests. Justify this statement. So it is difficult. It takes years to plant becomes a tree. So it's take time, and if we have to also pay attention the quality of the forest and provide the importance or essentials compost to grow it. Makes a list of 5 daily activities in which you use natural resources, suggest way by which we can reduce their use. So you have to write down it. List 4 activity that are responsible due to a presence of air. So you have to do activity that is possible for in presence of air. How can you contribute towards enhancing the green cover for your locality of your locality? Make a list action to be taken. In given illustration we see the food is being cooked. So ये picture में है, ये food क्या हो रहा है, cooked हो रहा है. Answer the following question: what type of energy is being used for cooking? So किस तरह का energy यूज़ किया जा रहा है यहाँ पे कुक करने के लिए, सोलर एनर्जी यूज़ किया जा रहा है. नेम वन बेनिफिट एंड वन ड्रॉबैक बाय यूजिंग दिस टाइप ऑफ एनर्जी फॉर कुकिंग. सम मे बी द food takes a lot of time to cook. This is a drawback, and this benefit is to we avoid using a natural gases that can create what, carbon dioxide, produce carbon dioxide. Cutting down the tree on a large scale impact the quality of the soil. What do you think it is? So we have to also write down. Explain two ways which human activity pollute the air. Purpose: one action which can help to reduce the air pollution. One activity to write down the human doing to pollute the air. You have to also write down one that can reduce air pollution. So this is all about the chapter. That's it for today. Let's meet to the another video.